I had so much fun reading this yesterday. That's an anthem. I don't hear that. Let's share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, and let's share it to my buddies on WhatsApp. Let's see, streaming this instant. There we go. Greetings, Amy. Welcome aboard. So I had so much fun streaming this yesterday. It owned. We were reading through the first ever Spider-Man story. Greetings, Raging Smurfon. Good to see you, bro. John, it's good to see you. I always do the thing where it's hard to know which name to say, the real name or the Twitch name. I prefer the real name, sir. I'm all about the real names. I'm drinking a green tea, an iced green tea. It looks like urine. Uh, as far as I can tell, it's not urine, but who knows? Who knows? With the amount of green tea I drink. Okay, so today we've got this hilarious cover. He looks so harmless, and yet the Tinkerer is one of the greatest menaces I've ever faced. So far he's only faced about maybe 3 menaces, so I guess it's not really too unofficial. My iced tea, basically what I did is I got some Longjing tea, and I made it in the teapot, and then I put like 2 blocks of ice in it, and that was it. That's all you really need to do for iced green tea. It's refreshing. I think I was on my second go with the leaves. I think it's a lot better if you're on your first go with the leaves. So treat yourself to a nice tea. It's very nice. Okay, so today we've got a classic. So this is issue 2. Dr. Octopus appears in issue 3, so hang on for that. So let's get started. Everybody loves a bargain. But sometimes it can be dangerous to accept a bargain which is too good to be true, especially if that bargain is being offered by someone like the Tinkerer. But wait, let's see how it all began and how it took Spider-Man to finish it. Oh, lychee Rubicon. That sounds delicious. I love lychee and Rubicons. It's a fruit drink. I love fruit drinks. Greetings, Caleb. I got it right today. I got your name right. I knew who you were. Okay, so this guy is called the Tinkerer, and he's an old guy, and yeah, he's interesting though. He won't appear again in a Spider-Man comic until like issue 220. So get ready for some obscurity. Okay, let's go for it. Oh, I'm in the wrong view. I'm not in panel view. It's an iced tea. It's the finest glass of water. What do you prefer, guys? Black background or white background? I'm more partial to black background. Let's see. Not sure. Not sure how to use Comixology. It was working really well yesterday, but hold on. Do I go to settings? Letterboxing. Black. There we go. I think it looks nice and sleek with black background. But let's go. I love the zoom. Okay. A story has to start somewhere, so let's begin ours in the science lab of Midtown High, where we find Peter Parker hard at work while, gosh, I thought class would never end today. I couldn't bear looking at one more test tube or Bunsen burner. Quiet, you'll break Peter's heart. He can't bear to be parted from them. There's the boy I was telling you about, Doctor. He's Peter Parker, our top science student. He's wearing a nice red cardigan today. He was wearing a black cardigan in the first chapter. He's changed his cardigan up. Flash Thompson, as usual, is sporting an excellent jumper. I love his taste in jumpers. Although the one with the big T isn't very good. Black background is energy saving. Okay, I'll go for saving energy. I want to save as much energy as I can. I was actually going through the first Spider-Man comic with my class today and getting them to read every panel. It was a great time. Peter, Professor Cobwell has asked me to recommend a student who could help him with some research over the weekend, and I was wondering, gosh, a chance to work with the most famous electronics expert in town? I'd be delighted, sir. Thank you, my boy. I have some urgent experiments to perform and will appreciate your assistance. Over the weekend, though? No, fair enough. They've started to improve how Steve Ditko's drawing of Peter Parker is starting to make him look gradually more handsome. Now, in the first chapter, he looked like a bit of an old guy. Improving it. Here is my address, son. On your way over tomorrow, please stop at the radio repair shop and pick up a small radio for me. I had some new tubes put in it. Sure, I'd be glad to, Professor Cobwell. Tinker shop. I wouldn't go to a place that's called the Tinker shop. Doesn't sound right. Minutes later, when the students are alone again. Well, so teacher's pet is going to help the nice little doctor with some experiments. Why has he got a Texan accent? I don't know. This weekend, eh? Well, us other dumbheads wasted time having dates and living it up. Knock it off, Flash. You're darn right I'd jump at the chance to work with a brilliant man like Dr. Cobwell. As for you being a dumbhead, it's nothing to be ashamed of. You were just born that way. Oh, sick burn. Like, a lot of people originally think that Flash is quite mean to Peter, but Peter's not exactly nice to Flash either. Then, before the angry Flash Thompson can think of a suitable retort, Peter Parker is gone, and the next day at home, I'd better take my Spider-Man outfit. Never know when I'll need it. Besides, I feel almost undressed without it. Dumbheads. It's such a cutting insult. I've got to say, my favourite insult is when, in the first one, where Flash Thompson says to Peter that he doesn't know the Cha-Cha from the waltz. What a nerd! I don't know. I was trying to explain some of the insults to kids in my class, because they're like, what's a Cha-Cha? What's a waltz? It's brilliant. Here's the place the doc wanted me to pick up his radio. The Tinkerer Repair Shop. Sure is an offbeat name. Wonder what kind of kooky character runs it. This actually appeared, I was reading the comic Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, which is kind of an alternate universe Spider-Man, and the Tinkerer appeared in that as a cameo. It was cool. Inside the shop, I'm the Tinkerer. What can I do for you, my boy? I'm here to pick up the radio for Dr. Cobwell. Like, who refers to themselves as the Tinkerer? You know? Is that his name? Is that his job title? They don't know the Cha-Cha or the waltz. They don't even they've gone beyond not just being able to tell the difference between the two. Oh yes, Dr. Cobwell. Just a minute, I'll get it. Boy, I sure called it right. He looks like a character out of Grimm's fairy tales. I love Peter's style. I try my best to imitate Peter Parker's clothes as often as possible. So I've been subconsciously doing that since I was 16 years old. Then suddenly, strange, my spider sense picks up odd electrical impulses. Must be coming from his testing equipment. They're actually calling it spider sense now. In issue 1, they called it spider instinct senses, and that wasn't very catchy. I've got to stop getting so suspicious all the time. The Tinkerer looks about as dangerous as a second-hand cream puff. Second-hand cream puff? Meanwhile, in a soundproof basement workroom directly under the shop, Dr. Cobwell is ready for his radio. It is one of special jobs. One of my special jobs. There's a missed typo there. Good, I have just finished it. He may have it now. Oh my days! I have inserted our special device. He will never suspect that this is much more than a simple radio. Man, I love it. These are later retconned to have not been aliens in issue 215 of Amazing Spider-Man, but for now, just enjoy the aliens. Actually, I think it's issue 50 of Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Yes. So far, none of our special customers suspects what we have done to their radios while we were supposed to be repairing them. Naturally, our plan must be completely secret until we are ready to strike. Then, after the long climb upstairs again, you mean you only charge a dime to fix radios? But tut, my boy, I like to give bargains. They bring me in lots of customers. A dime? How much is a dime? Is that like 10p? I'm not sure how American currency works. Finally, at Dr. Cobwell's lab. Yes, I heard the Tinkerer's prices were ridiculously cheap. That's why I took my radio to him. But enough of that. Here's the experiment I want you to work on for me. I still don't get it. The Tinkerer must be losing money on every customer. And he didn't look like a nut to me. So what's his angle? Nobody gives anything for nothing. Wow. This is batty. That meant crazy in the 60s, everyone. I've got to forget the Tinkerer and concentrate on what I'm doing. but something about him keeps sticking in my craw. Sticking in my craw. You really need a dictionary for some of the slang in this. Wait, I know. Those electrical impulses which I sensed in the shop. Now I sense them here. The part of me which is Spider-Man is reacting subconsciously to them. I've got to check this out. So this is very interesting. At the time, people had no idea that this was a representation of spider sense, and it's actually a perfect visualization of it because it shows that he's always Spider-Man instinctually all the time. But originally, people thought that he was maybe wearing half a mask in the 60s, and they were a bit confused by that. But it's a really great innovation. I mean, did I literally see the bit that said this? Yeah, you came in just for the bit where he said this is Batty. Batty meant crazy in America. I think it still does actually. The part of me which is Spider-Man is reacting subconsciously to them. I've got to go check this out. But yeah, it's cool. I love the half the mask, and like, if Steve Ditko didn't take a chance with that, we wouldn't have like experimental stuff in Spider-Man. No, it's not parody Spider-Man. It's basically at times a parody, but it's the beloved original Spider-Man. But where can the impulses be coming from? The radio is shut off, and Dr. Cobweb doesn't have any other electrical gadgets operating now. Yeah, everything is done in such detail, and what I love is sometimes things are in a thought bubble, and sometimes things are said aloud. Like when he first gets bitten, he's like, "I have been bitten by a spider. Why is my hand glowing so?" Today, when my class were reading that, one kid did a brilliant. I chose one kid who's being very dramatic to read that bit, and he's like, "My hand. Why is it glowing so?" And it was amazing. I got him to read so many times because it was hilarious. He was loving it. He's putting on his coat. This is my chance. As soon as he leaves. I have to lecture at the Institute now, Peter. I'll be back in a few hours. He's gone. Now to see what this is all about. See, he's talking aloud again. He's just closed the door. He's going to hear him. Hey, no ordinary radio had gadgets like that inside of it. There's where the impulses are coming from, even with the set-off. That does it. I'm through kidding around. So I like to just imagine in my head that it's the modern version because this happened 18 years ago. If you're looking at how 3 years in Marvel Comics is 1 year in the real world, so Peter Parker is 33 years old at the moment. This was when he was 15. It was 18 years ago. So I like to imagine that the technology would be the kind of technology we would have 15 years ago. So I guess they would probably still. I don't know. It'd probably be a DAB radio. At this time. That I always found it odd how they would shorten through for comics. It really irritated me, and it did today when my class was reading it because I was worried they were going to make spelling mistakes in their literacy. Only 2 weeks left of summer holidays though, so can you get away with a spelling mistake or two? Now Spider-Man is going to take another see at the Tinkerer's shop. So Spider-Man started doing things. He started behaving a bit more heroically now. He's not really doing things so much out of self-interest at the moment. I don't think it's until he fights Sandman that he becomes a proper superhero. But it's interesting. He's technically an adventurer at the moment, and that's the term they used for Spider-Man in the 70s and the 80s. They referred to him as an adventurer instead of a superhero. This place is closed for the day. Well, that won't stop me. I'm getting the same strange impulses again. They're coming from below. So he's saying his spider sense out loud instead of thinking it. It's confusing. It must have been very confusing for the letterer looking at the script and deciding what would be a thought and what would be said. I don't know if the letterers make the speech boxes themselves. I don't really know how lettering works. Or if it's typed or hand painted, or if it was at the time. I mean, yeah, I think I think the letterers did the boxes. I do love how the Spider Sense looks as well, with all the lines streaming out. I mean, Steve Ditko's art was brilliant. It really changed comics back in the day, and it was a shame he died on Friday. But we're doing this in his honor. I want to at least get to chapter 33 one day because that is the quintessential Spider-Man chapter. It was even referenced in Spider-Man Homecoming. Wow, no innocent little repair shop ever had a basement workroom like that before. It's more like a concrete reinforced dungeon. Luckily, the door's open. I guess they're not expecting visitors. And inside the isolated workroom, you have done your work well, Tinkerer. We are almost ready to strike. Yes, our electronic spy devices hidden in the radios belonging to important Earthlings have enabled us to learn much about their strengths and weaknesses before we attack this unsuspecting planet. Quiet, I am processing the latest pictures relayed back to us by our pinpoint TV spy device, which you have planted in the radio of a military leader. That is a mouthful. Your pinpoint TV spy device. Spy camera, you could have said. Oh well. A lot of the so this is the second issue in a row which has something related to spying. The first had the chameleon, and this has these aliens spying on people. It's interesting. How clearly we can hear and see. My devices never fail. Silence! I must remember what they say. I summoned you. Oh, different voice. I summoned you, Colonel, to discuss our plans for defense of our eastern seaboard in case of a surprise attack by any hostile force. So that's what it's all about. They're enemy aliens from another planet using some sort of eerie spy devices, which they place in our radios in order to learn of our military and scientific secrets. It's really good. I was talking to someone from Piranha Comics in Bromley, and I think he was talking more about DC Comics, but he said there was only 4 colors that they used at a time in DC. And I think in 1962 they advanced it a bit, but they made really effective use of the colors they had at the time. They're very vibrant. Um, I mean, of course, it depends what scans you're looking at. These scans have been really cleaned up, but this would be how it would have looked when you read it at the time. They've got some kind of brilliant algorithm which sorts the colors on Comixology as well. I could only recommend this program. It's fantastic. You could get the latest comics. You could get old comics. It's great. It was Lewis who was working there at the time because I haven't seen Lewis for 4 years. But I remember when I first went into that shop, Lewis is like he has helped me out with so much stuff in that shop and recommended me so many comics. And I've spent a lot of money there, but it's great. He recommended the Roger Stern Spider-Man comics anthology, which I have the cover for bits in my bag at the moment, which is like it's upside down there, which has about 60 different Spider-Man comics from the 1980s by Roger Stern, who is one of my favorite writers. But Lewis is great. He's really passionate about comics. I can only recommend Piranha Comics, but be careful because you will spend a lot of money there. I'm only going once a month. I mean, but yeah, it was good to see Lewis. He told me he was manager of the shop for a while in the 4 years I hadn't been there. And he was just working part-time there again. But he's a cool guy. And he got me signed up to Amazing Spider-Man issues 801, 802 onwards. So glad to be back on the subscription thing. My spider instinct warns me someone is behind me. A spider instinct against not spider sense now. Phew, not a second too soon. Now, no place to go but inside. I love how he just jumps out of the way and dodges him instead of fighting him. A costumed earth creature sees him. It's not going to be that easy, buddy boy. See what I mean? I really love how he captures the acrobatics. So, the bit of context here, at this time, Jack Kirby was the really popular illustrator for Marvel. He illustrates Buddy Boy. He illustrates the covers for a lot of Marvel comics, and I think he originally designed Spider-Man, but Steve Ditko changed it a lot. But when Jack Kirby made comics, all of the heroes were really strong and muscular. Spider-Man, although he is quite strong, was more wiry looking, and he didn't look as imposing or powerful. I think that's interesting because a lot of Ditko's comics have just really awkward, weird things happen in them, and to make Spider-Man's design and movements quite awkward and weird was quite amazing for the time, when everything was supposed to be in your face and very powerful, like Superman and Batman, who had been around a lot longer than since the 60s. Look, he can climb sheer walls. He is no ordinary Earthling. He is Spider-Man. Get him. I love how they're just pointing and they're and they're not even. It's really interesting. If he escapes with knowledge of our plans, we are lost. The inverter mechanism thrown at him loosened his grip on the ceiling. He's falling. So this comic was released in 1962. I'm not sure of the date, but I think it was. So, if I remember correctly, Amazing Fantasy 15, the first Spider-Man comic, came out in April. And then Spider-Man issue 1 probably came out the next month, and this one probably came out after that. I'm not 100% sure though of the release date. I used to actually know the day it came out, but that was when I was in secondary school. I was actually talking about Spider-Man with a colleague today, and she realised that I actually know an insane amount of it because I kind of suppressed my power level at work. But like I could talk about which artist illustrated a particular Spider-Man or what the writer was. I don't know all the artists and writers, but it's a fun thing to know about. Like I think I know a bit more about the book Ulysses, but I'm catching up with Spider-Man. Now we have him. Render him helpless. We can overwhelm him by sheer weight of numbers. There 3 people isn't exactly sheer. I've got news for you. It's been tried before. His super strength is greater than we suspected. He shook us all off. A weapon. We need a weapon. We have a weapon. The Tinkerer is never unprepared. This will stop Spider-Man. Oh! It would have killed any normal human, but it merely stunned him. Quickly, put him into the specimen cage before he comes to. I'm loving the alien voices. Is this plexiglass again, like the Fantastic Four? That's resisto glass. Because I think plexiglass just makes it sound like it's it's one of these. There, nothing that lives can break out of the resistor glass enclosure. Now, our final problem is to find a suitable way to dispose of the meddler. I'm really looking forward to doing the Dr. Octopus voice. Wow, what's with his chin? I think Steve Ditko had a very fun time illustrating the Tinkerer. He looks so weird. He is the only mortal on Earth who even suspects our presence here. The only one who knows our master plan. There is no question about it. He must be destroyed. Release the air from the resisto glass prison. Why has he got a Dalek voice now? Within minutes, Spider-Man will no longer be a menace to us. I've got to move fast. That control panel also opens and shuts this crazy little mousetrap. The air is being forced out through these tiny holes, but instead of killing me, these openings are going to save me. It's a good thing my spiderweb launcher is loaded and ready for action. Cartridges of web fluid, adjustable spray nozzle, palm release button, safety catch on. I can't really remember because I haven't read these in a long time. I haven't actually read the early Spider-Man comics since I was like 15 years old. It's the same age as Spider-Man in these comics. But I don't remember these technical drawings explaining what was going on, and I think that's really cool. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a manga more than an American comic, so props to that. I can't afford to miss. I've got to line it up perfectly with the hole and the proper control panel button. I've got the safety catch off, the nozzle on target, hand steady. Bullseye! What's cool about this is his strategies are really similar to the kind of strategies Spider-Man uses in fights today. And there are so many practical uses of his powers. The Blue Slide comics and I remember in comics like Beano and Dandy enjoying technical drawing style things the most. Yeah, it's cool. I love the technical drawings. It's something I never really caught onto because I remember reading Spider-Man in the 90s where everything was cybernetic and virtual, and they didn't really focus on drawing like the technical machinery, um, like the kind of very simple machinery. But yeah, yeah, it looks awesome. I love this thing. It looks like the kind of device I would use to make green tea. It's worked. The cage is open. I'm free. Look, it's impossible, but he's loose. Spider-Man is loose. Who do you think you are? The town crier? I love that wisecrack. I don't really remember reading much Beano and Dandy, but I did watch the Dennis the Menace cartoon. and I love that. I also liked Banana. What is it? Banana Man? Was that in the Dandy or the Beano? The art for it was really good, though. I'm not sure why I didn't read it. I think I was more interested in Thomas the Tank Engine when I was very young. It took me a while to start liking cooler stuff. You fool! You've jarred my alarm. I've destroyed our control panel. I like how he's just shooting at it. Look at him. He's like, oops. Guess I've accidentally destroyed the control panel. I can't believe I pointed then instead of clicking on it. It's so easy to do. It would take months to rebuild that control panel. We haven't the time. Quick, let us flee while we can. Spider-Man is too powerful. Wait, don't leave me behind. Don't abandon me. Numbskulls was my favorite because of all the diagram stuff going on. Like when they show different sections of the body on the whole page with everything going on at once. That sounds cool. With the numbskulls, like, this can sound very dumb because I don't really know. But with the numbskulls, like skeleton people? Or am I getting that confused with that show about the family of skeletons? I remember that family of skeletons. What was it called? Funny Bones. No, I don't think Numbskull is related to Funny Bones. Hold on there, laughing boy. You're not going anywhere. Is that supposed to be like an insult, laughing boy? They were just doing their duty to whatever planet they were from, but you traitor. This smoke, this burning control panel, it put the whole place on fire. Stop struggling, Tinkerer. I'm trying to save you. No, let me go. Take your hands off me. Nobody touches the Tinkerer. Can't see the smoke. It's blinding me, choking me. I've got to get away. Just in time. Couldn't have lasted much longer, but the building is a total wreck. I'll be reduced to ashes in minutes. I hear sirens. Fire engines. Someone must have turned in an alarm. I've got to disappear. So I have a feeling that in the 60s people used to talk aloud a lot more than they do now. Just from the fact that so many people in comics speak aloud. Numbskulls existed in your body kind of like inside, like each body function could be attributed to. Oh, were they the educational books that showed, like, for example, there was a blood cell character. And I think I remember something like that, looking at something like that in a hospital when I was a kid, and it had different people representing different parts of the body. It sounds cool. You can send me a link. I'd love to check it out after the stream, or during the stream even. Look, it's Spider-Man. Maybe he started the fire, but why? People are so mean to Spider-Man. Beside the fire. Meanwhile, a strange spacecraft begins to streak away from Earth. Safe at last. Press the button, which will destroy all of our spy devices by remote control. It is done. We can never again return to Earth. They will be on guard from this day on. Just an aside about the aliens. They were retconned to not being aliens because Marvel thought that was too silly. At least Roger Stern thought that was too silly when he wrote Spider-Man later on. They were changed to being Mysterio and his men, who were out of work, special effects workers, and they were pretending to be aliens. I don't normally like retro continuity in comics, but this worked pretty well, to be honest. Actually, what am I saying? I like Dan Slott's Spider-Man. I love retro continuity in comics. And back at the laboratory of Dr. Cobwell, I've re-examined the radio, and it's perfectly normal now. No devices, no impulses, nothing. Here comes Dr. Cobwell. He looks excited. My boy, I just saw the most startling sight. As I was returning from the lecture in my car, I glanced skyward, and I could have sworn I saw a spaceship of some sort fading in the atmosphere. Really? What did it look like, sir? Well, it was sort of... Oh, what am I saying? I must have imagined it. Nobody would believe me anyway. I have no proof. People will think I'm a typical absent-minded professor. Forget it, Peter. Let's go back to work. Sure, Doc. That's a stereotype that doesn't really exist anymore. I see Peter's upgraded his glasses now as well. Well, at least the drawing of the glasses looks a bit better there. And yet, I was so sure. I know how the Doc feels. If not for this mask I yanked off the Tinker at the last minute, I might not believe it myself. I'd better never mention this to anyone. It would be too hard to explain how Peter Parker knows so much about Spider-Man's adventures. I don't know though because they made the aliens not aliens anymore. So the fact he took a mask off of the Tinkerer is quite weird because the Tinkerer is just a normal person when he appears. I think it's just a case of them forgetting what happened. The beginning of more and greater Spider-Man adventures starting next issue. Let's see an adventure of an example of numbskulls before we move on to the introduction of his most powerful foe, Doctor Octopus. Oh, this looks cool. So the brain department, eat lots of hot dogs. Eye department, ear department, nose department, mouth department. I love it. Like this is the kind of thing that would really, it really brings the idea of like of how biology works and makes it interesting for kids because like just distributing each part of the head to a different department, that's pretty cool. I love it. Okay, that's I don't know how to exit this now. Hold on a second. Look at my super low tech method of doing things. Put this in big screen. That does look really cool. I unfortunately didn't remember reading it, but it's interesting that I remember the coloring was again restricted by having quite a limited palette of colors to use, and the print quality of the paper was pretty budget. And it does share a lot of similarities with the older Spider-Man comics. I wonder though, was the Dandy that we read a reprint of an older Dandy, or was it a modern comic? And is the Dandy still going on? Is it still released? It's interesting. The Dandy. So here we are, Spider-Man issue 3. So this is July. So April, May, June. What do you know? I was right. The yeah, the first Spider-Man comic actually did come out in April. The Dandy and the Beano have both gone fully digital now. Ah man, I remember I used to read Sonic the comic as a kid. I loved that, and that's gone completely digital now. I think that's unfortunately a lot of British comics that aren't released in like the American format of being an indie comic or being like a superhero comic are not really published physically anymore. I don't know if Judge Dredd is still published physically. I've always loved the art style of that, but I've never really been a fan of the content of the story. But yeah, it's strange. That's kind of a shame. Uh, I missed out on the experience of reading the Dandy and Beano. If anyone has any old issues of it, I'd love to check them out. Probably on the Internet Archive or something. So interesting fact here about the Comics Code Authority. I think it was about the time when the Green Goblin was introduced. They decided to introduce some storylines that used drugs. They used it in a negative way, um, but they had to not be approved by the Comics Code Authority in the late '60s, which is interesting. Dread is I have some if you want to borrow. I wouldn't mind borrowing it because like well, to be honest, I don't really know much about it. I just feel like it looks a bit gritty, but the art looks really interesting. If is it good? Because I'd love to check it out. If I could borrow it, Amy, I'd love that. That'd be wicked. Because I wanna open like I kind of want to branch out a bit with comics because I know a lot about Spider-Man. Um, but apart from that, I don't really know much about other comics. Although reading Answers on Quora has taught me a lot of things. Oh heck yeah, I would love to check those out. Like because it's something I missed out on as a kid. Uh, um, I would read a lot of Sonic the comic back then, but I didn't really have the Beano comics. I love this cover by the way. It looks really cool. Yeah, the art is amazing. Is it in black and white, Judge Dredd? Or is that just my memory playing tricks on me? What's interesting about the Dredd comics as well is that they're in real time. which is interesting because Marvel Comics have, like, as I've mentioned, they have 3 years in the comics equals 1 year in real life. It's like cat years. Oh, their color. I think what happened was it may have been black and white like a long time ago, but now it's color. A lot of the Spider-Man reprints in the 80s in England were in black and white, and they were on like green paper or blue paper. I remember talking to a cabbie about it once, and he was like really excited about the fact that I loved Spider-Man. It was awesome. It was really wholesome. There's an Arms comic coming out now. Yes, I love Arms. What a game! It is a game that utterly destroys me, but it's a lot of fun to play. I'm all about Arms. I'm definitely thinking of getting a Nintendo Switch. I can't really afford one at the moment, but one day after I get my next job, so I'm finishing my current job in 2 weeks. Soon I will get a Switch. So I may try and do a Doctor Octopus voice. You are helpless, Spider-Man. I warned you that the power of Doctor Octopus is far greater than yours. The Doctor Octopus voice in the cartoon was the best Doctor Octopus voice. I'll get a Switch one day. One day. I'm lucky I'm getting paid for summer holidays, but I do need to save some money, I think. But if I got a Switch, do you have Arms as well, Amy and John? Because we could do an Arms tournament. Because Caleb's really good at it, and well, the whole Pinnell family are quite good at Arms. I definitely want to Switch though because Sonic Mania is getting upgraded soon. You know the Arms tournament would be so great. I want to do a video ball tournament as well because I think that would be a hit. Um, I mean, let's see over the summer. I've got 2 weeks before my summer holiday starts, so I have plenty of time to organise tournaments. Yeah, video ball is written in capitals all the time, as well as Arms. Any game that's written in capitals all the time is awesome. I don't, but I definitely get it. Yeah, it's awesome. I can't really play it the regular mode very often because it's like Dance Dance Revolution. Because since I've got a muscle condition, it's really hard to play it without getting really tired out. But it's worth it. I would definitely cripple myself to play Arms. It's one of my favorite games on the Switch, surprisingly. Yeah, it's great. I got really intensely into it when I was playing it with Caleb, well, with the brothers, the brothers and sister Pinnell. We all had a really good time playing that. Handheld controls. I'd play with handheld controls. It's so exciting to play it. Like it is the esport. It's the original esport. All right, guys, let's look into a book-length super thriller. Spider-Man faces his most powerful foe, Doctor Octopus. So in the first couple of Spider-Man comics, they were doing 2 stories a book. This is when they decided let's just have one story in a book. Yes, yes, John. Arms, arms. If I get arms, I'm gonna practice it a lot uh, with the controller. I feel that you don't really need to practice if you're playing it with the motion controls because that is just pure instincts. Oh, Splatoon! I wouldn't mind getting Splatoon as well. That looks really cool. I'd love to get a Switch. Also, the game Dragon Ball Fighters. I've got it up here somewhere. Just seeing. Dragon Ball Fighters is like one of my favorite 2D fighting games, and that's coming to Switch. I'm trust me. The wait, were you playing with motion control mode, Amy, or the or with the controller? Because I think the best. I don't know. I had fun playing it in motion control mode when I was standing up and proper getting into it because it felt like. Well, I've never done boxing before, so I don't know, but it felt like I assume proper boxing. But yeah, I'd love to get a Switch. Also, Sonic Mania is being upgraded with 2 new characters in 2 days. Motion control. I would play it with motion control, but I can only do that for about half an hour before I need to sit down. It's fun. You should do boxing. Why not? It's cool. I mean, my younger brother is really good with boxing, and like he taught me like sparring techniques once. We had fun in the garden doing a bit of sparring, and it's interesting. It's the kind of thing I would do if I didn't really have conditions. It's cool. I really admire boxing, and I think it's like a really interesting sport. It's the kind of thing I'd probably love to watch on TV because I've recently discovered I quite like watching sports on TV. Well, World Cup football was very fun. I don't know if it's different for non-World Cup football though. I don't really want to support a team apart from England because it's coming home. Okay, let's go forward. Doctor Octopus, the strangest foe of all time. I don't think he's as strange as Stiltman. Stiltman was a weirder bad guy than Doctor Octopus. The only enemy ever to defeat Spider-Man. Well, so far, it's been loads of people who've defeated Spider-Man. In this epic tale, see the Human Torch, fantasy, thrills. It's coming home. It's coming. Football's coming home. I, I, it's got 3 lines on the shirt. I love it. I love singing that song. Jaws remain still gleaming. 30 years of hurt. What a tune. An absolute banger. I love it. Okay, let's go to the next bit. A story has to start somewhere. So let's begin with a lonely warehouse in the dead of night where we find a robbery taking place. Hold it, guys. I think I heard something. Relax, Charlie. It was probably just a mouse. What are these guys wearing? Got to respect some burglars that have the flair to dress like this. And like, is that Wario? Wario here. We've got Waluigi and Luigi as well. Suddenly, the most awesome image in crime fighting appears on the wall directly above the startled thieves. Mouse? You've never seen a mouse like this before. Look, that's the spider signal. I love the spider signal. Don't be shy, fella. You can say my name. It's Spider-Man. Get him out. Get him. There are 3 of us. He can't take us all. They're coming home from the club. I want to go to the club they're going to. They look so cool. Purple hats. Wario and Waluigi. Like, so the spider signal is something that Spider-Man created. It doesn't really have a practical usage except for banter. I love it. Although sometimes he does use it practically. But this is just for fun. So he's become a proper hero now in the last few chapters. Ugh, brother, you're living in a fool's paradise. Oof. Ow. I love how they call people brother when patronizing in the old days. Some big criminal mastermind you are. Ah, shut up. Whoever expected Spider-Man to butt in? Look, Joe, Spider-Man's been here. And how? So did he leave the spider signal there? Because that must be pretty expensive to do that. Especially in the 60s. Oh no, he's standing up there. And not far away. It's almost too easy. I've run out of enemies who can give me any real opposition. I'm too powerful for any foe. I almost wish for an opponent who'd give me a run for my money. Oh, and so oh yeah, tell him happy birthday from me. I've given him some happy birthday messages on WhatsApp and that, but yeah, tell him in person because I love birthday boy. I tell you, it's been so many glorious birthdays recently. We've had Owen, Amy. I've had 2 colleagues at work who've had birthdays. I love it. And little does Spider-Man suspect that his frivolous wish is about to come true, for at that moment, on the outskirts of town, here comes Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus? Why do they call him that? Watch, you'll see in a minute. Here he is. See? It's that specially designed contraption he wears, which enables him to perform experiments behind the lead walls which shield him from radiation. He created that getup himself. He's the only scientist permitted to wear it. He's the most brilliant atomic researcher in our country today. Yes, such a man is Otto Octavius, better known to his co-workers as Dr. Octopus. Let us watch as he conducts a nuclear experiment. So they were obsessed with nuclear stuff around this time. I think most superheroes in Marvel Comics at this time had some kind of power related to radiation. My artificial extra arms permit me to work safely with volatile chemicals which are far too dangerous to touch without protection. Though others fear radiation, I alone am able to make it my servant. But nothing is ever perfect, not even the projects of Dr. Octopus. And as the unsuspecting atomic genius conducts his experiment, look, the radiation meter has gone wacky. Something is wrong. There's gonna be a blow-up. Sound the alarm. That is a cool panel. That looks awesome. It looks like something out of Evangelion. But the warning, alas, is given too late, and before the alarm can be sounded. Then, after the flames and smoke have partially cleared, Dr. Octopus is still breathing. I hope we've reached him in time. Even though he's alive, he's absorbed a great deal of radiation. Poor guy. Let's just admire this panel one more time. It's a work of art. It's beautiful. In the hours that follow after exhaustive tests, the X-rays show an uncertain amount of brain damage. I'm afraid his mind has been permanently damaged. We can't remove those artificial arms of his yet. The radiation has caused them to adhere to his body in some strange way. So the arms were permanently connected to his spine, I think, at this point in the story, but they are able to be removed later on in the story. Finally, days later, the injured scientist recovers consciousness. What am I doing here? Let me up. I must return to my work. No, you've been very ill. You must stay in bed. You need the rest. He looks a bit like J. Jonah Jameson, but with blonde hair. But the brain of Dr. Octopus, the brain which has been damaged by radiation, reacts in a bitter way. They are jealous of me. They want to keep me from my work. But I'll show them. I'm stronger than any of them. The window is barred. They're trying to make a prisoner of me. The fools. No one can hold Dr. Octopus against his will. No one. Then suddenly, at just a suggestion of thought by Dr. Octopus, his artificial arms move as though they have a will of their own. I've got to break those bars. I did it. My arms did it. Their strength is incalculable. They can do anything. Somehow my mechanical arms have almost become a part of me. They obey my every command. With such power and my brilliant mind, I am the supreme human being on Earth. I said, maybe this is the brain damage talking. Supreme human being. Minutes later, you wanted to see me, Dr. Octopus? Yes, come in. Shut the door behind you. What is it? Oh no! No! Aha, you don't believe what you see, but it's true. I'm all powerful. From now on, I give the commands here. Oh, disturbing. Meanwhile, at the offices of J. Jonah Jameson, publisher of the Daily Bugle, I want pictures of the injured scientist, Dr. Octopus, but no one is allowed to enter the Bliss private hospital anymore. I never heard of any hospital keeping people out. Don't worry, JJ, I'll get those pics for you. He still hasn't said his famous I want pictures of Spider-Man line yet. I think that was just from the movie. My best men have tried and failed, but so far, you've succeeded in every assignment. I can't imagine how a teenager like you does it. Our agreement, JJ, is that you never ask me how I do it. And he's doing a thumbs up. He's gradually becoming more confident as the story progresses as well, which is nice. Just have a check ready for me when I bring back the pics of Dr. Octopus. He doesn't suspect Peter Parker, the teenager he assigned to the job, is gonna have Spider-Man do it. Here's the place. Strange that it's locked and nobody's admitted. What kind of hospital is it anyway? Well, there's only one way to find out, and Spider-Man's just the cat to do it. He's not a cat. These suction fingers of mine will get me up the wall in no time. Boy, it's great being Spider-Man. I can do almost anything. So I have a feeling a lot of this exposition was there to recap people who have just started reading, because I don't think it was so easy to get back issues back in the day. So you got to remind people every chapter of what Spider-Man's powers are. The only problem is my jobs are too easy. I'd welcome a little competition once in a while. And as he steadily climbs up the sheer outer wall, little does Spider-Man dream that he is soon to get far more competition than he ever bargained for. Seconds later, almost there. Holy mackerel, what's that? Silence. Nobody is to speak when Dr. Octopus speaks. Dr. Octopus, very cheerful guy. Let me hide myself there. Whoa. Peering unseen through a large picture window, Spider-Man witnesses a strange, unexpected sight. You can't keep us prisoners forever, Dr. Octopus. We've done what you asked, gotten you all the equipment you wanted. When will you let us go? Not until I'm ready. With my powers, no one can resist me. You'll remain to serve me until I no longer need you, and not before. Well, well. So the good doctor has flipped his lid, eh? Well, this is just what I've been hoping for. A little action. Let me just put that back. I can't believe he's just taken them hostage. It is mad. But this is mad. You have no right. Right? You dare to speak to me of right? I have the right to do anything, as long as I have the power. And if you doubt my power, here is a small sample. No, don't. Let me down. So I've read somewhere that Dr. Octopus was created to be a vision of what Peter Parker would be like if he didn't become Spider-Man and he didn't have the things happen to him that happened, like the power and the responsibility. It's interesting. Looks like it's time for Spider-Man to join the party before he really hurts that fella. Hold it, Doc. How about picking a fight with someone who can fight you back? Spider-Man? Well, I sure ain't. Albert Schweitzer? I don't know who that is. Let me Google that. Albert Schweitzer. Let's see. Welcome to the chat room. It says. Oh, hold on a second. Let me see. Albert. I'm saying that on WhatsApp there instead of actually chatting. Hold on. Let's see. Albert Schweitzer. A theologian, organist, writer, humanitarian philosopher, and physician. Okay. The curriculum has definitely changed. You dare speak flippantly to me, you fool. When I'm finished with you, you'll sing a different tune. You don't think those dumb-looking flappers of yours can move fast enough to catch Spider-Man, do you? Hey, what? Surprised? Dr. Octopus is far more powerful than you dreamed. Far more powerful than even you. And he refers to himself in the third person. Don't let one lucky punch go to your head, pal. I've a few more surprises. Ah, most ingenious of you, your spider's web. But as you can see, holding only two of my arms isn't enough. Still have more. No time to shoot my web again. He's faster than I expected. But I can still grab his other arms. Oof, it takes all my strength. He also has superhuman strength. My web, he snapped it. Nobody has done that before. So Spider-Man's web has been improved very gradually throughout the series. The last time I saw it improved was in, I think, Amazing Spider-Man issue 222 or 3. He wouldn't have been able to fight with the Juggernaut if he hadn't improved it before then, in issue 230. Now watch me trap a spider in a web of my own, a web made of my newfound arms. Oh, arms, referencing the computer game there. Your strength is merely that of a spider, but mine is the energy of an atom born of a nuclear accident. I'm helpless. Can't fight all those arms at once. Don't know what to do next. He's just toying with me. You dare to mock me? Why aren't you mocking me now? Where are your brave words and taunts now, Spider-Man? I slapped him in the face. Doctor, he should be an arms fighter. I've got to say, like, Dr. Octopus is just so mean. I would never have thought that I would end up liking Dr. Octopus in Superior Spider-Man. Very, very strange times. Or do you realize you finally met your master, and now you can leave the way you entered? You're no threat to me. Weak, groggy, just barely conscious. I love that support, that embedded clause there. Spider-Man has his fall broken by a tree as he finally slumps to the ground in defeat. Dr. Coyle from Arms is kind of like Dr. Octopus. Now that I come to think of it, let me see. I want to be careful not to lose my window. Dr. Coyle, let's see. Oh, yeah, that is very Dr. Octopus inspired, I think. It permits. Oh, I missed. He beat me. I never had a chance. I didn't even give him a good fight. He could have finished me off any time he wanted to. What do I do now? I've never been beaten before. But this time, my spider powers were not enough. Is this the end of Spider-Man? So Peter was becoming gradually more and more confident, but he's still got those self-limiting beliefs here. They're holding him back a bit. Very inexperienced Spider-Man. It's interesting because I feel that Tom Holland really captures this side of Spider-Man. He gets really overconfident sometimes, but does have a lack of confidence. And I think that's one of my favorite aspects of Spider-Man's character. He always has tough times, and he gets over them. It's cool. Not long afterwards, at the hospital, even though I defeated Spider-Man, my prisoners escaped during the fight. I must leave before the police arrive. I'd say that's a success there for Spider-Man. With my arms, TM, based on the game, I can go anywhere, do anything. Fences can't stop me. No one can catch me. Now that I've reached my objective, any unlocked window will furnish an entrance for me. I'm not actually sure what Dr. Octopus's objective here. Just doing what he wants and being a troll. The security police aren't apt to notice an extra pipe or two up on the ceiling. Once he's gone, I can act freely. That's clever. This is what I'm after. The brain center of the entire atomic lab. Once I take it over, the greatest source of atomic power in the nation will be mine. So they retconned this. Well, they didn't retcon it. They changed it in Spider-Man 2 and made Dr. Octopus have a noble goal of wanting to create an infinite renewable source of energy. I really like what Spider-Man 2 did to Dr. Octopus's character, and they made him quite a sympathetic character as well. But you can't beat the maniacal, hilarious Dr. Octopus from the old comics. It's an easy matter for Dr. Octopus to unlock a door. Out, all of you. I'm taking over now. Did you see that? It was Dr. Octopus. But what's he up to? Nothing can beat me now. Between my own super strength and the atomic power which is mine to command here, I'm the strongest man alive. But first, I'll give a demonstration of my strength. I'll destroy a part of this plant and rebuild it to suit myself. That doesn't sound like a very good idea. Oh, enjoy your dinner, Caleb. Thank you for coming down. I hope you've enjoyed some Spider-Man. I'm having such a great time with Dr. Octopus here. It permits. I'm going to see. I'm gradually losing my voice actually. I'm going to see what the next chapter is, and I'm going to at least get to the end of this one before I decide what's happening next. But thank you. I'm having such a good time reading Spider-Man comics on stream. I think it's what I really want to do on Twitch. However, I don't think I could read newer ones because I wouldn't want to. Well, the very newest ones, I wouldn't really want to do it because I think they should be experienced on their own. But it's really fun to do with old ones, and it's a good tribute to Steve Ditko. His art was really great. Look, The giant machines are running out of control, as though some madman is guiding them. There's too much pressure in the main valves. The pipes are overheating, exploding. It isn't safe to stay here. So you're just randomly destroying this so you could rebuild it. But within minutes, the source of the trouble is made known, and we've got to reach Dr. Octopus somehow. We can't. He set up electronic barriers all over the place. And before long, the entire plant is evacuated, except for they realize they cannot be stopped and have given up on trying. I've won. The plant is mine. I am now in complete control. I'm just gonna. There we go. See you, Caleb. The foremost brains of the nation's armed forces and security agencies confer feverishly, but to no avail. We've never been up against anything like this before. A brilliant scientist with superhuman powers on a mad rampage. We can't stop him. Then we must see that innocent people are not injured. And so the order goes out. No one is allowed in or out of the atomic plant. Can't figure out why. They post sentries here. Dr. Octopus tries to get out. How can we stop him? Meanwhile, what of teenage Peter Parker, alias Spider-Man? Poor Peter's been moping in his room for hours. I wish you'd tell me what's wrong. I'm a failure. Spider-Man is a joke and nothing. There's the phone. Ring! Mr. Jameson. No, I won't be able to get the pictures of Dr. Octopus. No, I probably won't be able to get any more. Sorry. Yeah. Goodbye. Oh, poor Peter. He's having a sad time. Peter, dear, what's wrong? I can't bear to see you so unhappy. Is there anything I could do to help? No, Aunt May. It's my own personal problem. I'll get over it. Got to leave now. Time for school. Hey, hello, Petey. Say, what's with him? He didn't answer. And there's no one I can talk to. No one who'd understand. Him? He's down in the dumps. Looks like he lost his favorite test tube. Oh, Flash. There you go. He always has an amazing jumper and he's wearing a purple one today. Pete, did you hear the big news? The government's asked the Fantastic Four to try and capture Dr. Octopus. They're busy with another case, but they sent the Human Torch to see what he can do. He's speaking to our assembly today. Big deal. Oh, man. Little does Peter know that him and the Human Torch are going to become best bros soon. Later at the school assembly. I was asked here to tackle Dr. Octopus, but I've used my flame so much recently, I have to wait a few days to let it get strong again. While I'm waiting, your principal asked me to address you. If only I had his power, his confidence. But that's easy when you've never been beaten. Now for a little demonstration. I can apply my total flame, but here are some fiery figures for you. This is what usually happens when the thing helps me with my homework. I get results like this. 22 out of 3. Then after a few more colourful demonstrations. Now for a parting thought. Stick to your schoolwork and do your best in your studies. Don't be discouraged if it sometimes seems tough. The important thing is never give up. Remember that. Never give up. Johnny Storm, what a bro. Also played by Captain America in the movie Fantastic Four. Same actor. Ability alone isn't enough. It's one lesson I've learned from my partnership with the Fantastic Four. It's almost as if he's talking to me. Even the Fantastic Four have had defeats, but we always come back. Our motto is never say die. He's right, by golly. He's right. Later, at the conclusion of the Torch's lecture, I want to thank you for that speech. I'll never forget what you said today. It meant a lot to me. Huh? Oh, sure. Glad you enjoyed it, fella. That's very wholesome as well, how he's been moved by the speech. He's like, I've been personally moved by that speech. I love that. Actually, it reminds me once I went to this, so for some reason I went to this seminar for, positive thinking, and it wasn't really for me, but I enjoyed it. And there was a part where I stood up and I introduced myself and I said, my name's Robert. I used to be called No Limits, but recently I've been feeling quite limited, but I'm here to change that. And everyone clapped, and I had a really good time. And I was really taking in the seminar, and afterwards I went up to the person and shook their hand and said, thank you for the seminar. I could kind of relate to Peter there. Although the thing I took from the seminar is more what I did myself, interestingly enough. Like a man possessed, Peter Parker races home to the privacy of his room, and I guess if the Fantastic Four could be defeated and then go back for more, Spider-Man can too. I really love how like Peter Parker's look hasn't changed over the years. He's always had the same haircut. He's always looked the same. Maybe he wore glasses before and he stops that eventually, but it's cool. It's a good feature. Okay, Dr. Octopus, this is it. And now that I know, I mean, maybe he did have a bit more of a mullet in the 80s. This is it. Now that I know how strong you are, you won't have the advantage of surprise on your side again. This is one easy way to get past those sentries below. Hey, did you see someone flying above us? Someone flying above us? Are you some kind of nut or something? I don't know why flying would be nutty in a world where the Fantastic Four exist and Dr. Octopus is there, but so far so good. I landed safely on the roof without being stopped. Now, to get as close as I can to Dr. Octopus before he discovers me. But the strange scientist has his eyes everywhere, and it's Spider-Man again. Well, this time he won't be so lucky. This time I'll finish him for good. From now on, I allow no one to interfere with my plans. I will permit no one to defy me. And at that moment, my spider senses warn me of danger behind me. Nice try, Dr. Octopus, but I'm ready for you this time. With my spider senses fully alert and my spider muscles in top condition, you can't possibly hurl those electronic bolts fast enough to hurt me. Spider muscles, now he's referring to them. He knows my every move. He must be watching me on some sort of TV hookup. Well, I'll just go somewhere out of range, as only I can. It really, Dr. Octopus was one of Spider-Man's ultimate nemesis originally, and like one of the most famous chapters of Spider-Man issue 33 has another showdown with Dr. Octopus, and it's quite fitting that he did something really relevant to the story in issue 700, which led to Superior Spider-Man. He's been there since the beginning, even if the first bad guy was the Chameleon. He's found a way to evade by electronic scanners. He's cleverer than I thought. But I'll defeat him with my all-powerful arms, as I did before. He won't elude me now. Ah, there's what I'm looking for. The chem lab. I've got to move fast. It won't be long before he finds me. There, it's done. And now, this wiring will suit my purpose just fine. So he's here. He's not just using Spider-Man's powers, he's using Peter Parker's knowledge of science. And Spider-Man is at his best when he combines the elements of Peter Parker and Spider-Man together. Mustn't make a mistake. Dr. Octopus won't give me a second chance if anything goes wrong. I still can't be sure this will work, but I've got to try it. Now to find Dr. Octopus. Once again, at the last split second, Spider-Man's spider instinct saves him from sudden death. Ha! I've got you, Spider-Man. What? Oh no, you don't. Moving for every ounce of speed he possesses, Spider-Man manages to loop one of his hastily constructed devices around two of Dr. Octopus's arms before another arm, forces him to drop the second device. Science, bitches. Yeah, that is pure science going on. He's doing a science, and I love it. Oh! But Spider-Man has superhuman strength, even as Dr. Octopus, and he recovers from the blow in seconds in time to dive out of harm's way. That looks really painful. Now to get out of reach and watch what happens. You hope to defeat me with a foolish thing like this? You must be mad. Oh, I see. It's a chemical which fuses my metal arms together. Clever. But I can take care of that easily after I dispose of you for good. Slowly. Inexorably. Inexorably, that's a good word. Dr. Octopus forces Spider-Man back against the wall, blocking his web with his swiftly moving arms. I'm kind of worried that my writing is going to just pick up like loads of stuff from Spider-Man now. I'm going to use the word inexorably subconsciously. Ah, that's a good thing. Haha, even your fast-shooting web isn't quick enough for me. So when I first started reading it this other day, it did feel like quite old, and I had the impression it might be a bit dated. But it's not. It's really the fights are still very fast paced. The strategies are really good. It's definitely stood the test of time. 60 Spider-Man. It's a formula they're still using today, so I love it. He's using his fused arms like a club. I can't retreat any further. My back is to the wall. I've got to take a desperate chance. Moving like a person possessed, Spider-Man whips his legs around one of Dr. Octopus's tentacle arms, while he seizes the other free arm with both his powerful hands. Got you, but not for long. Then, before Dr. Octopus can make another move, Spider-Man shoots his amazing web directly at the startled scientist's face. I should have realized sooner or later. Oh, it's not Dr. Octopus, it's Spider-Man. I should have realized sooner, Octopus. The best defense is a smashing offense. Yes, exactly the same strategy that the England team have used in football. I love it. That blast is web. It's spread out over my glasses. I can't see. Can't get it up. Even though he can no longer see me, his other arms are now around me, pulling me toward him with incredible strength. I originally thought that the explosion had damaged Dr. Octopus's eyes. I think that might have only been something that happened in the movie. It's odd. It's like a Mandela effect thing. Oh, sorry, I'll move out of the way. Wah! Oh, wrong thing. Wah! Let's move this. I think it's better to move this. Even though he can no longer see me, his other arms are now pulling around me, pulling me towards him with incredible strength. Ah, there, I got some off. I've got his two free arms apart, but I dare not let go of them. So it's odd that his metal arms had problems pulling the web off, but his regular arms haven't. Give up, fool! Sooner or later you'll have to let go, and then I'll have you. I've got one chance, but I've got to time it to the split second, or I'm finished. Suddenly, Spider-Man lets go of Dr. Octopus's arms, and at the same instant lashes out with a smashing right. Now! I did it. I knocked him out. So that was probably not too powerful of a punch, because it's later revealed that he has to really hold back if he wants to attack anyone, because he's really powerful. He's like 50 times more powerful than a person. We tend to forget that sometimes. Well, the storytellers definitely forget that sometimes. I did it. I knocked him out. I had to let him go, and then strike faster than he could. Strange that an old-fashioned punch to the jaw defeated the most dangerous villain I've ever faced. Can't go wrong with the classics. Classic punch to the jaw. Better not take any chances. I wrap my webbing around him many times while he's out. He'll never be able to snap this. Later, at the sentry post outside the atomic plant. Captain, we've been hearing noises inside there like a fight. Someone must have sneaked past us, and look, over there. It's the sign of Spider-Man. There he is, waving to us to come on. Careful, pal. No telling what's going on. You're telling me. I'm going to shoot first and ask questions later. Oh. Look, it's Dr. Octopus, and he's all tied up and helpless. Don't just stand there. Get me out of this. The authorities will be able to handle Dr. Octopus now, but I still have one more thing to take care of, as Spider-Man. Minutes later, the dramatically costumed superhero climbs the sheer wall of the nearby hotel. He's somewhere in this hotel. I'll find him easily. My spider sense tells me that his room is just ahead. Inside the room in question. Good news, Torch. Your temperature is down and your virus is gone. By now, your flame should be working at full strength. Great, Doc. I want to show my partners in the Fantastic Four that I can handle Dr. Octopus alone. Flame on! And now for relax, Torch. Dr. Octopus has been captured already. Thanks to you, Torch. Octopus is safely under wraps, and I owe you an additional thanks because, not for you, Spider-Man might have been finished too. Huh? So long, Torch. See you around, pal. Flaming fireballs, I don't get it. What did I do? Ah, nice. It's very wholesome of Spider-Man to go and thank the Human Torch like that. I don't know about this fashion choice from Flash Thompson. I seem to be very critical about what Flash Thompson is wearing, but he's had far better jumpers than this. I'm quite a fan of the character after reading issue 800 of Amazing Spider-Man, and he is quite a good character. Granted, he has his flaws. Wish Spider-Man was still around to join me in the show, but I don't know where he cut out to. Now there's my idea of the hero, the Human Torch, and a guy like Spider-Man too. Why don't you watch and see what a real man is like, Bookworm? Someday I'll tell you why, Loudmouth, and I'm sure going to enjoy it. Yes, sir, it's going to be a real pleasure. Got another 799 issues to go, or 777 issues to go before that happens, but hey. And for the first time, a case ends without Peter Parker delivering any photos to Mr. Jameson. But right now, Peter couldn't care less. fair enough. Spider-Man is now a proper hero. It took him 3 issues, but he is. It's all thanks to Human Torch. The end. Special bonus Spider-Man pinup page from your pal, Spider-Man. Nice. Thanks, Spider-Man. So the next issue is the Sandman. Look at this cover. It's so weird. Again, it's an example of Steve Ditko just doing what people weren't doing at the time in comics. They're making characters look gangly and awkward, which is cool because a supervillain's going to be more scary if they're gangly and awkward than if they're this really strong guy. Spider-Man, now I've got you. Hey, what? Surprised? See why I'm called the Sandman. How can Spider-Man defeat a foe who cannot be injured? Don't dare miss. Nothing can stop the Sandman. Oh, that's interesting because there's also a chapter called Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut. Or I think it's called No One Can Stop the Juggernaut. So this was released in September, on the 4th of September 1962. What are we saying, team? Are we ready for one more issue? I think I might do one more, and then that will be it for the night, because I want to read more Spider-Man. I was reading today, actually, so this is the second book. I haven't read it yet, but Spider-Man Renew Your Vows is an awesome comic. It's an alternate future where Spider-Man's still married to Mary Jane, and he goes on adventures with Mary Jane and his daughter. But the first issue of this was amazing, the first book, because it really... They made it a Spider-Man who's in his 40s, and as a result, he's a lot smarter, but he's a lot less naive, and it takes him a while to regain his heroic instinct. But it's really great to see the interactions between Spider-Man and his family, Mary Jane and Annie May, who's his daughter, Anna May. I think that was done deliberately. It's pretty cool. But I haven't really enjoyed... I tell it live, so I've enjoyed the modern Spider-Man comics a lot. And the writer is Jerry Conway, and I don't really know the stuff that he's written. Let me see. So he's illustrated Amazing Spider-Man. He's written Amazing Spider-Man before, and it's illustrated. A lot of the illustrators are doing the modern Spider-Man comics, like Superior Spider-Man. It's really good. If you get a chance, read Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. And if you really like the old Spider-Man comics, actually, I recommend this. Where is it? This is one of the greatest Spider-Man comics of the modern Spider-Man era. It's called Spider-Man Learning to Crawl, and it's written by Dan Slott and illustrated by, I don't know, Perez? I don't know his name. But the illustration style is made to match Steve Ditko's original Spider-Man art. It looks really cool. So everything looks like an old Spider-Man comic. And everything that happens in this happens alongside Spider-Man issues 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it tells us about how Peter Parker developed from being a bit selfish into actually wanting to become a hero. And the last 2 pages of this are beautiful. Just shows everything that's going to happen, and he says, now it's my turn, because from now on I'm going to be... I'm not sure. Oh yeah, so you were my hero. Now it's my turn because I'm going to be yours. You'll see, I'm going to give it my all. We'll have fun. I'll never quit, and it's going to be amazing. I love that. So if you want to enjoy some more classic Spider-Man, Spider-Man Learning to Crawl is the best way to do it. Secondly, issue 801 tells a really beautiful story of how someone quit smoking because of Spider-Man, and that the art style in this is also very similar to classic Spider-Man. I mean, look at it. That's beautiful. I think that's illustrated by Marcos Martin, who also illustrated the funeral scene in Spider-Man issue 800, which was really, really powerful stuff. And the inks really highlight how highlight that retro style. It's cool. Look at me referring to the inks. There we go. I just put this back on my shelf. Sorry. Okay, let's read one more chapter of Spider-Man because I'm loving it. I'm having such a good time doing this. Nothing can stop the Sandman in the space of only the first 3 issues. You readers have made Spider-Man one of the greatest, most phenomenal successes in the history of super characters. And now, with this record-breaking 4th issue, Spider-Man soars to still greater heights as he battles the most fantastic foe of all to settle back for the thrill of your life, the fateful moment when Spider-Man meets the Sandman. Not to be confused with Neil Gaiman's Sandman, who is one of my favorite comic characters ever. I love Stan Lee's introductions to things. They're also wholesome and excited. He's just as modest as he is confident. I tell you, like, it's a shame that Steve Ditko passed away, and here I am celebrating. Like, we're celebrating his life here, enjoying his art. But I'm going to be really sad if Stan Lee follows. And like Stan Lee's in his 90s now, just as Steve Ditko was. Steve Ditko died at 90 years old. It's really sad because I love Stan Lee. He's such a great guy. I've really been inspired by him, and just seeing Stan Lee at the beginning of the Fantastic Four and Iron Man cartoon when I was 13 years old, it really helped me through like some tough times at school. It's great. The Spider-Man comics have been there for me during like really tough times, and it's really nice to be able to enjoy them. And I tell you what, if I could one day write for the Amazing Spider-Man, that would be a dream. I'd love to. I'd love to be the next Roger Stern or Dan Slott. A lot of people don't like Dan Slott, but I don't care. Dan Slott's great. Know what New York's biggest tourist attraction is? Grant's Tomb, Empire State Building? Nope. It's a colorful crime fighter named Spider-Man. Looks like old Jay Jonah is still gunning for me in the paper. Some guys just never give up. The Spider-Man Menace, a new series by J. Jonah Jameson, starting today in the Daily Bugle. Still doesn't have the flat top yet. Well, if I ever saw a Free Punks case in a jewelry store, I see it now. They're not as well dressed as the thugs in Chapter 3, the people wearing purple. I was right. No sooner does the proprietor lock up for the night and head for home than they start sneaking up to the place. What's going on? Who's this? Who's the wise guy? Feels like a piece of web dropped down on us, but who? Well, it's not Dr. Kildare. Dr. Kildare. I need to see who that is. Oh, I do need to check references sometimes. I'm sorry. It's always when he says it's not something, it confuses me. Dr. Kildare. Is he a Marvel character? Kildare. James Kildare is a fictional American medical doctor character originally created in the 1930s. Okay. Fair enough. Spider-Man, we're sunk. Shut up, stupid. I'll handle this. If you're thinking of putting up a fight, brother, let me warn you. A fight? The only fight I'll put up is in court. I'm suing you for assault and battery, and I've got witnesses to prove it. Yeah, that's right. How are they going to sue him? He can't even be paid because he doesn't have a driver's license that says he's Spider-Man, as we found out in issue 1. There's no law against free, honest citizens walking in the street at night. Then you come swooping down on us, scaring us out of our wits. You're a menace, just like J. Jonah Jameson says. He's right. I was a fool. I should have waited till they broke into the store. Now I have no evidence. Don't you feel like a jerk, parading around in public in that getup? A fine way to talk to a superhero. But what can I do about it? Hey, let's swear out a warrant against Spider-Man. I'll call a cop. Help, police. Oh, man. This is Batty. Again, Batty means crazy in those days. Don't misread that. Them calling for help against me? Police. Boy, you never can get a cop when you want one. We'll help you. Hey, police. I see one coming now. Spider-Man, get out of the way. It's Spider-Man. He attacked us for no good reason. He'll find my web on the ground, and it's their 3 stories against my one. Even a superhero knows when it's time to cut out. Hey, come back here, you. I've got to fill out a report. I need your name, address. Wait a minute. This will teach me not to go charging into things until I know what the score is. Well, it could be worse. At least I did stop them from robbing that store. Get him down from the roof there. Shoot the bum. So they obviously didn't have CCTV at the time. This probably wouldn't happen in a modern Spider-Man story. Gotta hand it to you, Charlie. You sure outsmarted that creep. Alright guys, move along. The party's over. If I was Spider-Man, I might have tackled you myself, because you got larceny written all over you. Wow. Don't think a policeman's actually allowed to say that to someone. Meanwhile, up above, it's all his fault, on account of J. Jonah Jameson stirring everyone against me. Even cheap crooks now think that they don't have to fear me anymore. Well, it's time I paid J. Jonah a little visit, as Spider-Man. Heck, it's empty. He's not in. But I'll just leave a little souvenir for him to prove I was here. Just gonna have some more iced green tea. Ice long jing is very tasty. Minutes later. Well, that's it. That's that. Now, oh, hey, police cars below. Something must be up. I better hang around. That fella climbing frantically to the roof must be the one they're looking for. It'll be duck soup for me to get him. Duck soup? I guess duck soup is easy to make. First, I'll shine my Spider-Man beacon in front of him to let him know what he's up against. I think it's the Spidey signal now. And then I'll just, holy Hannah, who are you? I didn't expect a welcoming committee, but since you asked, I call myself the Sandman. Now, any other dumb questions? Well, it's not really a dumb question if you've never met him before. Sandman, I heard of you. I thought the reports were just a gag. If what they say about you is true, you're wanted by the police from Maine to Mexico. Very interesting. Now get lost. I got me a couple of banks to rob, and I don't want to work overtime. Hold it, gruesome. Nobody gives Spider-Man the bum's rush. You're going to get worse than that if you don't let go. Think I'm kidding, huh? Okay, let's see you hold on to me now. He's slipping away through my fingers, just like soft sand. I don't know how you managed to do that, but that's kid stuff. You ain't seen nothing yet. Now do you see why they call me the Sandman? It's unbelievable. Your body isn't flesh and blood. My fist goes right through you without hurting you. So the Sandman, I think it's in Marvel Zombies, the Sandman travels out of the zombie timeline and meets a Spider-Man from an alternate timeline. And he goes inside Spider-Man's mouth and explodes his stomach. It's terrifying. It's really upsetting picture to see. So luckily the Sandman in this universe is an idiot and he wouldn't do that. But wow. But I can hurt you, pal. All I do is harden any part of me I want to, like this. Oh, your jaw is like iron. And how's this? No hands. Oh, it's like punching him in the stomach. It's weird. He could change his body as easily as Mr. Fantastic, only Sandman isn't on our side. Don't go away, chum. The party's only starting. He's just toying with me. I've got to use my web on him. But then, oh no, he tore my mask. Can't let anyone see me like this. It'll be the end of my secret identity. How did that tear his mask? If I could, I don't dare to capture him now. You got me, so what? As soon as the police grab me, I'll let them know who you really are. Once my secret is out, J. Jonah Jameson will never stop hounding me. To think that a public menace lived right in our midst, hiding beneath a mask of respectability. He must be expelled from school, driven out of town. Lock him up for life. I don't want decent teenagers to associate with him. He's just an overgrown delinquent. So there's that cover there. It's covering by me. And Aunt May, if I'm driven out of town, what will happen to her? Don't worry about me, Peter, darling. I'm just an old lady. It's you who matter. The sale of shoelaces, 10 cents. It's not a very valid business model. Come back here, you blamed coward. The amazing Spider-Man. Bah! Got to get away. Can't take a chance of him recognizing me. The risks are too great. I mean, Spider-Man has always been a bit neurotic, but much more so when he was younger. I've got to get away. Can't take a chance on him recognizing me. The risks are too great. Now he's gone. No, he's gone now. I'll just get back to business. Keep changing the voices up. And this reminds me of when I was a kid. I used to read comics to a tape recorder, and like with my friend Daniel, and we would read comics. We'd read like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff from Shonen Jump, and do voices, and it was great. It's good that I could still enjoy that as an adult. It's easy for a guy to jump off the roof of a building if he can turn into small weightless sand particles. Then, after I land on the sidewalk, all I have to do is reform the particles again. And now, for a date with a bank. So Sandman's already got his powers here. I don't know if it explains how he got his powers or if he was a villain in another comic, like Hulk or something. I don't know. Reaching the bank, Sandman reforms the particles of his index finger into the shape of a blank key. This is easier than using burglar tools. He's got some handy powers. Inserting his finger inside the lock, the key takes the exact shape of the lock itself, enabling it to move the tumblers, thus opening the door. Once inside the bank, Sandman then slides along the floor, slithering under an electronic eye barrier without setting off an alarm. Until, so far so good. Now to tackle the main vault itself. Meanwhile, at the home of Peter Parker, high school science major, we find Peter, alias Spider-Man, wrestling with an unusual problem for a superhero. If this doesn't take the cake, I can't go in public as Spider-Man until my mask is sewn up. And when it comes to sewing, I'm all thumbs. He is now, but he becomes the best sewer in the Marvel Universe. Gotta say, the amount of times he's redesigned his costume. This is ridiculous. I'm no cotton-picking seamstress. I've got to do it myself. I can't walk into a tailor shop and say, sew up my Spider-Man suit, please, without making somebody just a little suspicious about who I am. So he got a job for the Daily Bugle. Why didn't he get a job as a tailor? That would have been good. He could have really made some money with that. He was a good tailor. Ouch, darn needle. Wish I could ask Aunt May without arousing... without arousing her suspicions. Okay, that's what he was saying. Hey, what's this? We bring you a special bulletin. The dreaded Sandman has been reported in our city. Oh, okay, they explain his origin story. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Sandman's background, Channel 17 presents this brief summary. A few months ago, he was an inmate at Island Prison. So I think that's Riker's prison, which is the famous prison used in Spider-Man. I don't know if it's a real prison. Let me Google that. Rikers Island. Yeah, it's a real prison, I think. New York's main jail complex. So it's on the East River between Queens and the Bronx. And that's where most of the Spider-Man villains got sent to. They even made a super villain wing in the 1981 Spider-Man comics. I think in Spectacular Spider-Man, about issue 35 or 38 is when it mentioned it. But it's staying anonymous for now. I think maybe the rules of which real places you could use were a bit different in the past. Known as Flint Marko, he was the most incorrigible prisoner at the maximum security jail. Then one night he escaped through an unguarded drainage tunnel. Vowing never to be recaptured alive, he headed the FBI list of most wanted criminals as he managed to remain one step ahead of the pursuing lawmen. But as the police dragnet drew ever tighter, he hid in one place where no one would imagine a man would hide, an atomic devices testing center. It worked out pretty well for him, I guess. Maybe. Realizing it was the only place where he could have a measure of safety, he remained on the lonely, forbidden area of beach until the fateful day a nuclear test explosion caught him unawares. By some incredible accident, the molecules in his body merged at that radioactive instant with the molecules of the sand under his feet, and his body took on the qualities of the sand itself, becoming virtually indestructible. So I love how people got their powers in the original Spider-Man. It always involved some kind of radioactivity. And I don't quite know whether they're saying nuclear power is bad or good at this point. It's just interesting to them. I think that Spider-Man comics didn't really develop as. I mean, they had a bit of a social conscience, but they didn't really develop much of a social conscience until the the Silver Age of comics or the Bronze Age of comics. I think we're still in the Golden Age at the moment. And so, we urge every listener to stay indoors. And oh no, Aunt May's coming. I got to hide my costume fast. So he puts, wow, just time to throw my robe on. Hope none of it is showing. Peter dear, you've been studying so hard. I brought you some cookies and milk. Aunt May again looks very old. Shame about Uncle Ben. Why are you clutching your robe so tightly? You look agitated. You must have a fever, dear. That's my best excuse. Maybe I am a little ill, Aunt May. Now you just get right into bed, Peter. I'll bring up some aspirins and a thermometer for you. Gosh, you don't have to bother with that, Aunt May. I'm sure I'll be okay in a little while. She's gone. Now for the news again. Police have thrown a cordon around the bank. Sandman is said to still be inside. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of TV's most dramatic moments. Our on-the-spot cameraman is actually photographing Sandman as he calmly walks out of the bank. The police bullets don't seem to affect him. Minutes later, Sandman made a clear getaway. I'll bet Spider-Man could stop him. If only I could sew my mask and slip away from Aunt May. You'll be just fine after a good night's sleep, dear. You've just been studying too hard. Meanwhile, the Sandman races through the city with the pursuing police right at his heels. Suddenly, turning a corner, he drops a stolen money bag as he wills his radiation-affected body to change its physical structure, and the unsuspecting officers run past. But who would think to suspect what lies beneath an innocent-looking mound of sand in a vacant lot? So it's interesting. I always considered Steve Ditko to illustrate horror. The Amazing Fantasy 15 has lots of horror stories in it, like that aren't just Spider-Man related. Has some things about aliens and monsters. So here again, we have him returning to his horror story roots, and it's quite interesting. I mean, this must have been really scary to read in the 60s, just imagining this. I love that small detail of his face in the sand as well. It's like a troll face. Where are we now? Let's see. The next morning, and though Sandman has made good his escape, the police are keeping constant vigil. You seem better this morning, dear, and your temperature is perfectly normal. I'll fix you a nice warm breakfast and you can go to school. As soon as his doting aunt leaves the room. Phew, I was up half the night working on this, but at least it's finished, so I'll just wear my Spider-Man costume under my clothes today. Breakfast is ready, Peter. Be sure you eat every drop. I've got to leave a little early today. I love that in the first chapter he eats wheat cakes, and they dissed wheat cakes in Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. Like Annie May, his daughter at the time of that timeline, says, wheat cakes are terrible, I'd rather eat pancakes. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one who thought that. It was a bit strange to have wheat cakes. Thanks, Aunt May. I'll be a little late coming home today. I'm going to stop off and see Mr. Jameson about something. He's the nice gentleman who publishes the Daily Bugle and Now magazine, isn't he? Nice gentleman. Just be sure you don't exert yourself, dear. You know how easily you catch a cold. Oh, Aunt May, I wish you wouldn't baby me so. I'm pretty husky, you know. Now, Peter. Can't be too careful, can we? Here, take your umbrella. It may rain today. Boy, if the world ever found out that Spider-Man had to carry an umbrella and promised not to exert himself. It's wholesome. A few minutes later at the publishing office of J. Jonah Jameson. Good morning, Mr. Jameson. Bring me the latest bulletins about Sandman right away. Also, I want a file on Spider-Man. First Spider-Man plagues the city and now Sandman. I wonder if there could be any connection between the two. What a scoop it would be if I proved there is. Sitting at his desk chair, Jameson angrily finds the little memento which Spider-Man had mischievously left for him the day before. What in the blamed ding busted Sam Hill is on my chair? I haven't any idea, sir. I'm stuck in this blasted chair. Can't get out. There's a piece of adhesive webbing on the seat. It's the work of that miserable Spider-Man. Well, don't just Stand there gawking, Miss Brant. Go find me another pair of trousers. Yes, sir. Gotta say, those are some cool trousers he's wearing. Um, Forget the fact that the web fades away eventually. I love this happening. It's really funny. Oh, there's 1 moment. Gonna have a cough time. Oh, can't do that too loudly. Sorry, everyone. I don't have a cough button. Although I could have pressed mute. Oh, there's Jay's young photographer, Peter Parker. Um, would you bring these trousers into Mr. Jameson, Parker? He's in such a bad mood. I hate to face him. Sure, Miss Brunt. JJ must have found his little memento I left for him yesterday. I clean forgot about it. He's developing more of a sense of humour as well. Spider-Man's been pretty funny in the last few chapters, and it's good. It's good to see him slowly develop. Oh, it's you. Did you bring me any new pictures? Look at him standing there in his underwear. No, this kind of reminds me of something that would happen in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. No, Mr. Jameson, I've been sort of busy with my studies. But here's a pair of pants for you. Listen, Parker, I want pictures of Spider-Man. Yes, he said it. That's the first time he says it. You've managed to bring in great stuff in the past, but if you can't deliver now, I'll be ready. I'll get someone who can. Do you read me? Say, what did you come up here for anyway? I wondered if you could give me an advance on my next check. An advance? What are you kidding? What do you do with money? Eat it? Look, this is a business, not a charity. When you bring me exclusive pictures, I pay for them, but not before. You teenagers are all alike. You think the world owes you a living. Now go out and get me some shots of Spider-Man, and don't get back until you do. I bet JJ today would be complaining about millennials. It seems the type. I needed the dough for new experiments with my webbing, but I can't tell him that. Oh well, I tried. It's interesting though because the teenager is a concept which really popped up after the war in 1950s America, and it was a relatively new concept. But it's good to see that people have been moaning about them the whole time. They have been around. Once I get those pics of Spider-Man, I'll run them next to some pics of Sandman for caption reading. Are they the same man? What a feature that would make. Better get to school before I miss the last bell. Why, JJ, you make no sense. And so, that's another brilliant jumper. Gotta say, Flash, you know how to wear your jumpers. Well, the poor guy. Hey, you're not serious about having a date with puny Parker tonight, are you? Well, the poor guy has asked me so many times. I just didn't have the heart to refuse him again, Flash. I think that might be Liz Allen, who is the person he dates in Spider-Man: Homecoming, or tries to. I'll have to find some way to pick up the trail of Sandman after school tonight. Hello, Peter. What time will you pick me up tonight? Suffering cats! I forgot all about my date with Liz tonight. I'll have to break it. Gosh, Liz, I'm sorry I can't make it. Something important came up. Lucky for you, Liz. Now you can go out with a real man, namely me. Oh, that's a shame. Gee, don't be angry, Liz. You see, I have to study for tomorrow's exam, and Peter Parker, you're the top student in class. You can't spare one evening for a date, and I'm sorry for you. Goodbye. Hey, dig the crazy umbrella. How come you left your galoshes at home, Skinny? Um, it is a shame that Peter Parker hasn't really learned how to say he can't make things in a nice way. Yeah, he really seems like he's standing people up, and it's a shame. It's just a bit socially awkward at this point. Sometimes I think I ought to have my head examined for sticking to the Spider-Man bit. I'm beginning to think a secret identity is for the birds. I wonder if my spider power is also affecting my brain also. Nothing I do seems to turn out right. Parker, stop daydreaming in class. He never gets a break. But that's what I like about Spider-Man, though. He doesn't get a break, but he keeps it up. He's still Spider-Man. Um, he could probably do with some therapy, but he's Spider-Man. He's doing a good job. Meanwhile, not too far away, Sandman is having his share of troubles also, as he realizes that evading the police isn't easy, not even for a super criminal. I turned my legs to sand just in time. These blasted cops are all over the place. I was wearing a hat this time. I just love how Ditko draws Sandman. It's so odd. They must be having a tough job holding me, but they sure are wearing me down. I've got to find a place where I can hole up and rest for a while. Just like look at him moving like a snake. I mean, most of the time when Sandman appears, like here's an example of what he looks like these days when he appears and stuff. It's like this. He's really big and muscly, you know, and I like it more when Sandman's weird, this weird, awkward, dangly, freakish thing. Hmm, that high school over there looks like a good spot. Nobody would ever think to look for me in there. He would kind of stand out though. Everyone's in class except for that lone kid. Now to find an empty classroom. That's what I get for not paying attention to class. I got stuck with the job of carrying these old bottles from the lab to the boiler room. A real glamour boy. That's me. Glamour boy? Leave him here, Sonny. I'll get rid of them as soon as I adjust this new king-size vacuum cleaner. He didn't know how lucky he is. No worries except keeping the school clean. No nutty villains to chase like I have. And on the floor above. Somebody's coming. I better duck into this room here. Uh-oh, the blamed room is packed. He's gone into a classroom. And now, class, our principal will say a few words to you. What? It's the Sandman. Look here, I'm Principal Davis. I demand to know. Quiet, you. I'll do the talking. So you're the principal, eh? Know something? I never graduated school. Maybe this is my chance to get a diploma. He's doing that. He's quite likable, the Sandman. He's hilarious. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I'm going to find out right now. I figure a guy like me deserves the best of everything. So I want you to write me out a diploma or else. Why does he need a diploma? I don't know. Nothing can make me do that. A diploma must be earned. Your friends can't make me violate my trust or my duty. Say, listen to him stand up to the Sandman. Now there's a man with guts. Stop, stay back. These students are in my care. All of you, run home. Call the police. I'll hold him off until you get out safely. Mad respect to this teacher. He's really cool. That's what you think, mister. I'm going to teach you a little lesson right now. But outside the classroom door, the returning Peter Parker has overheard the commotion and making a rapid change. A rapid. Do they mean rapid charge? I don't know. He suddenly bursts into the room like a tornado as the amazing Spider-Man. You got that backwards, Loudmouth. You're the one who's got a lot to learn. Spider-Man. Wowee, this sure has studying calculus beat. Oh, hello. Go get him, Spider-Man. Give him one for us, pal. Wonder if they'd cheer so loudly if they knew it was puny Peter Parker they're cheering. It's interesting because Flash Thompson did bully Peter Parker, but it did just turn out that he's quite a decent guy, and he had a tough home life. I think it's cool that Spider-Man does things like that. It makes even the characters that seem most one-dimensional seem really developed. Like Flash and J. Jonah Jameson have had a lot of character development over the years, and even recently they've had some. I mean, I really like J. Jonah Jameson now in issue 800 of Spider-Man and Flash Thompson. I mean, I've liked him since the 90s. He's been pretty cool. But they've done a few things with his character since. That was real dramatic entrance, Spider-Man. But enjoy it while you can, because this time you ain't getting away from me so easy. I've got to get him away from here. Can't take any chance. I can't take a chance on any of these kids getting hurt while we're fighting. But maybe I can quickly floor him with one punch. Uh-oh, no chance. My spider sense tells me he's making his body rock hard again. I'll just bust my hand trying. Instead, I'll do the unexpected. I'll grab him in a wrestler's hold before he can change the structure of his physical makeup, and flip him over my head like this. Happy landings, braggart. Perfect. I got him out of the room. Now to find a way to hold him until the police can get here. I have a feeling if I were a superhero, I'd talk to myself a lot. I always get I always find myself in the morning when I'm sorting things out for class. The teacher next door always tells me that I've been talking to myself, and I'm like, I have? Boy, did you see that? I wonder where Peter went. He isn't here. Who, that coward? He's probably hiding with his head under a desk somewhere. Oh, that's a shame. He's actually doing all the work. Hey, Sandman recovered faster than I thought. I've got to stay out of his way till the school can be cleared of the kids. They made that. Yeah, it's like um, stay out of his way. I mean, it's good logic. Quickly everybody out of his way. Like I like they could. I see that someone's wearing Converse also shoes there as well. Chuck Taylors. I mean, yeah, it's pretty it's pretty funny that they don't see that he's Spider-Man at all, even though he gives them excuses why he can't make stuff, and Spider-Man's always there when he isn't. But that's teenagers for you. Okay, Spider-Man, now it's just you and me. Once I finish you off, nobody will be able to stop me. He's pressing me too hard. I need more room. He has the advantage of these close quarters. I'll need my agility to get out of range. Ah, this is more like it. Now I've got to lure him out of here, into a bigger area, and I know just the place. Good, he followed me into the gym. Now I've really got room to operate. Um, I tell you, Spider-Man does actually use the backgrounds quite a lot. Like in the fight with the Juggernaut in Chapter 230, he uses a whole building site to do some interesting stuff. And it's cool that he's interacting with um, mundane things from everyday life. It's interesting. I'll cover him with my web from up here. Tricky little clown, ain't you? That's comic book logic. Um, yeah, I've got room to operate in this gym. I love the logic of the Spider-Man comics. It's hilarious. Brother, you don't know how tricky. Well, you have to be a lot trickier than that to hold me. Heck, he's pouring right through my webs. Any other dumb stunts you want to try? I love that pitch. Again, I can't get over with these Sandman poses. They're hilarious. Why not? You're not going anywhere. Got to sound confident to him, but I'll be blamed if I know what to try next. He's sure no sitting duck. Yeah, Spider-Man kind of talks a lot to distract his opponents and to get over to calm himself down. So one of the things I like about his character is stayed consistent the whole time. Gotta catch my breath for a sec. He's got me trapped in this corner. Can't run, and my punches don't seem to be hurting him. Now I got you where I want you. Hold still, insect man. This won't stand very long. Um, this won't take long. These days, Spider-Man would. He always says, "I'm an arachnid, not an insect," and I love that. But he didn't say it then. All right, if you want to keep punching me, I'll take it. I'll make it easy for you. There, I made myself all nice and sandy again, and now my fist went right through him, but he made his body hard again. I'm stuck. Don't want you to get bored, chum, so it hits you a different way. Ever get any love taps from a guy's rock hard head? I think a love tap is a name for a punch, but it doesn't sound like that's what he's talking about. Oh, ow. Um, God, what's going on here? If I didn't have my spider strength, I'd be out for the count now. Can't take much more of this. Gotta do something. Suddenly, summoning every remaining bit of strength in his amazingly powerful body, the Spider-Man exerts one last mighty effort and flips Sandman over his head against the iron stairway post. Wah! The awesome criminal releases his hold on Spider-Man. Awesome criminal. That doesn't sound. That's one of awesome is one of those words that's changed in meaning over time. As he shatters into countless grains of sand. I'm free! But for how long? He's already reforming the sandy elements of his body into a solid mass. Nice try, Spider-Man, but a fat lot of good it'll do you. Boy, anyone who wanted to trade places with me right now wouldn't have to coax me very hard. I'll just let my grains of sand ooze over there towards you, like having your legs in quicksand, isn't it? I'll bet you'd be great in a party. You're just a barrel of fun, aren't you? Well, this little party's going to end pretty soon. Here's where I put you away for keeps, you costumed pest. That was Sandman talking, not Spider-Man. He's trapping me more and more. I can't break loose. Wait, I've got an idea. While he's busy trying to keep me helpless, I'll bend down and try to make him form himself into some sort of a ball. I notice you're not giving out with all the wisecracks now, Spider-Man. It worked. I maneuvered him near the basement steps. Now, if I'm lucky, you're just prolonging the agony, lame brain. This ain't gonna help you. I'm going to probably make this chapter the last one because I'm misreading things. Oof. Still think it won't help me? Okay, you've had your fun. Now I'm through fooling around. That's so? I'm just getting started. This electric drill will bore through anything. So you better keep your distance, Sandman. He's threatening him with a drill. I love that. This panel is hilarious. Don't you ever learn? All I gotta do is make my body like sand again. That dumb thing can't hurt me. So far, so good. He doesn't suspect that it's just what I want him to do. Still not convinced, huh? Okay, go ahead, waste your time. How'd a nut like you ever get to be a superhero anyway? Just stick around, big man. You'll find out before you know it. Moving with breathtaking speed, the amazing Spider-Man suddenly drops his drill and seizes the huge industrial vacuum cleaner which the school janitor had been adjusting earlier that day. So you wanted a diploma, eh? What's that got to do with anything? Just this. Here's the first part of your education, courtesy of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's the first time he said that, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Phew, got him at last. This heavy canvas bag will hold him for sure. Too bad. I could have got some pictures of our fight. Old Jameson would pay a fortune for him. Say, why not? Maybe with a little ingenuity, I can still furnish the pics to JJ. I'll take my camera out of the belt. There, I've got the timer set to automatic. Now this bucket of sand will come in real handy. This is very unethical here, but oh well. I'll just toss a mess of sand into the air like this, and then I'll drive through it as though I'm attacking Sandman while he's in sand rainfall. Since this really happened a few minutes ago, it can't be unethical. Oh, okay, it's not unethical. All right, it can't be unethical. It's like shooting a retake of a movie. I'm sorry, Peter. This is very unethical. I hope the camera is focused just right. These would be good shots. Meanwhile, the police have thrown a heavy armed cordon around the school and all units are in position, Captain. Good. Remember, we don't take any unnecessary chances. Let me through. I'm J. Jonah Jameson. Let me through. What are you waiting for, Captain? Why don't you charge in there and overpower the Sandman? Look, mister, I don't tell you how to publish newspapers. I've got to be sure that all the students are out of there before the shooting starts. Shooting? Wow. Later, alright, the school is cleared out, except for the Sandman. Now get him before he and the Spider-Man escape. Oh, sorry. You're off base there, Jameson. We're not after Spider-Man. As far as we know, he's helping us to battle the Sandman. So he's got you fooled too, has he? I'm convinced that they're in cahoots. For all we know, they're planning to loot this entire city together. Jameson. Foreshadowing. Like, that is, that's some foreshadowing before the shooting begins. It's like, wow. I love it, by the way, when the spider signal is used and red is used. That deep shade of red looks really good in comics. Jameson, why don't you let me handle it? Look! You can breathe easy, Captain. Sandman is inside, all wrapped up for you. It's Spider-Man, he did it. Don't let him fool you. It could be a trick. You've got to capture Spider-Man. Hold him until you find the Sandman. Better come down from there, Spider-Man. You have to give us a full report. And I've got questions for him got questions to ask too, pal. My papers want to know more about him. Why is Spider-Man allowed to roam the city at will, taking the law into his own hands? Boy, nothing I do can satisfy Jameson. I remember the Spider-Man comics had the cartoon from the 90s had quite a nice reason for Jameson hating Spider-Man. It's because he hates masked vigilantes and people who wear a mask because his first wife was killed by someone wearing a mask. It's interesting. I don't know if that's his reasoning in the comics. I wouldn't be surprised if it was though, because they're usually quite thoughtful with their side characters. Eventually, boy, nothing I can do can satisfy Jameson. I better watch my step. He has a way of inflaming the crowd, turning everything I say and do against me. If the police listen to him, I'm liable to be locked up too. But I have a feeling that Stan Lee had a plan for what he wanted to happen with Spider-Man originally. Um, it doesn't really see. I mean, I know a lot of the villains seem to be fought up at random, but the story arc seems to be quite well thought out, and we could tell from his writing he's got quite a literary background. From the way he uses fronted adverbials and embedded clauses. I'm sorry, guys, I'm a teacher. Only a teacher for another 2 weeks, but I'm still. I think I'm always going to be a teacher even after I leave my job. Here, Sandman's inside. Better handle with care. Captain, make Spider-Man come down too. Why won't he face us? What is he trying to hide? As a taxpayer, I demand he be apprehended. But inside the school again, Spider-Man has other plans. I've got to change back to Peter Parker in the double before they find me. A few seconds later, I sure hope no one ties my sudden appearance in with the disappearance of Spider-Man. Hold on there, Parker. I've been looking for you. So you were hiding in the school, eh? Good boy. Did you have any of my exclusive pictures of those two menaces for me? Yes, sir. I did. I was kind of lucky this time. Here's the film, Mr. Jameson. I didn't have time to have it developed. That's all right. Don't worry about it. I'll take the cost of developing out of your pay. Oh, lovely. Not a sign of Spider-Man, Chief. Well, we've nothing against him anyway. And we do have Sandman under wraps. Nothing against Spider-Man? What about the damage done to the inside of the school? Wait till my papers write an editorial about him wrecking public property. So, Spider-Man doesn't really have any issues with the police as such yet, but I think in the 80s when Spider-Man was being written, like he was kind of a suspect for murder. I think that maybe that might have been after Gwen Stacy was killed in the uh, later issues of Spider-Man, around issue, I can't remember what issue it was, but that was around the 70s. So I think that might be the reason the police suspected him later. But he does have some police he gets along with and some he doesn't. It's interesting, and you get to learn a lot about the police characters. I know my favorite police character in Spider-Man has been Jean Defoe, but she was unfortunately, well, she's not real, but she was killed by a villain called the Sin Eater, which led to the Venom storyline. It's a shame because that was a really awesome character. And there's also Gwen Stacy's dad. He was a great character too. It's a shame they killed him off. Nothing against Spider-Man. What about the damage done to the inside of the school? Wait till my papers write an editorial about him wrecking public property. If Spider-Man had let the police handle this, Sandman could have been starved out of there and captured. Sorry, it's been a long day. And captured with no fuss, no damage. But once again, Spider-Man tried to steal the glory. I don't think so, considering they said they were going to do some shooting. Mr. Jameson, the police appreciate Spider-Man's help. You can print what you want to in your papers, but sooner or later people will realize you're just airing a private grudge of your own. Who cares about Jameson? For once, everything turned out okay. I polished off Sandman, got the money I needed, and now there's nothing to stop me from dating Liz tonight. I better go and find her. Love that jumper, by the way. Peter Parker's fashion sense. There she is, way up, Liz. Well, look who's here, Mr. Bookworm of 1963. Oh, I think this is 1963. No, it's still 1962 in the comics. I don't know. Now that the fighting's over, you can finally come out of hiding, eh? What is it, Peter? I happen to be quite busy. Gee, don't be angry, Liz. I just wanted to tell you I can take you out tonight. After all, really? Perhaps we should declare this a national holiday. Sorry, Mr. Parker, but I have made other plans. Oh, meaning yours truly, punk. Now run along and find your umbrella. Oh, it's being dissed for having an umbrella again. You brainless loudmouth. You've insulted me for the last time. I'm going to wipe that stupid leer off your face right now. Wow, so the worm finally turned, eh? Okay, worm, I've been waiting for this. Wait, oh, again, the spider sense. I love this. It's not just the spider sense, it's also his sense of responsibility showing as well. And I love this visual representation. It's so clever. Wait, what am I doing? I can't afford to lose my temper like this. With the strength of Spider-Man, if I get into a fight with a normal guy, I could pulverize him. I forget, you're not worth the trouble. I've got more important things to do. Sure, things like chickening out of fights and hiding whenever there's trouble. Things like that can keep a fellow really busy, can't they, Petey boy? Um, Good on you, Peter. Respect. Would you like us? Would you like to help us cross the street, Sonny? Maybe we could. Hey, what gives? You ought to feel his arm under this jacket, Flash. Parker's got muscles like a weightlifter. Too bad he doesn't have the courage to match. You said it, Liz. Come on, chick, let's go. This company's boring me. Ah, poor Peter. Now even Liz thinks I'm a coward. That sure is pretty hard to take. So long, Brainwave. Don't let any kindergarten kids run away with your books. What? That's enough, Flash. You needn't be that cruel to Peter. Woman, I thought you were mad at him. Yes, Flash Thompson does become quite likable, but it's not for a while. Later, walking home from school, a thoughtful Peter Parker overhears the comments of his neighbors. Well, I see that Spider-Man captured that awful Sandman. According to the editorial, Spider-Man's just as bad as the other one. Don't you wish you were Spider-Man? Nah, give me the torch, the human torch, any day. Jonah Jameson writes the Spider-Man has no business trying to catch criminals by himself. You ask me, that's right. Who knows when Spider-Man may turn against society? What would make a guy wear a goofy costume and run around chasing crooks? Don't know. He must be a neurotic of some sort. I mean, they're not wrong. He is. He is pretty neurotic. But that's one of the traits. That's one of his endearing traits. I like that. I can relate to that. Probably has some delusions of grandeur. Finally, oh, I can't cover the mask. Finally, alone in his room, the amazing individual called Spider-Man searches his soul, bewildered, confused, and bitter. Can they be right? Am I really some sort of crackpot, wasting my time seeking fame and glory? Am I more interested in the adventure of being Spider-Man than I am in helping people? Why do I do it? Why don't I give the whole thing up? Yet I can't. I must have been given this great power for a reason. No matter how difficult it is, I must remain a Spider-Man. And I pray that someday the world will understand. I love that. Peter Parker might feel like giving up sometimes. He might give up sometimes, but he always heads back into it. He's my hero. One thing is certain, the world won't have long to wait for Spider-Man's next great thriller. Due to our ever-increasing demand, it will be on the sale soon. Reserve your copy now! I love this. I'm really getting into it. At first, I was kind of reading it in a tongue-in-cheek way, but I'm really being sucked into these stories. They're great. So I'm not going to read the next one, but it had to happen sooner or later. Spider-Man was bound to battle Doctor Doom. This is your finish, Spider-Man. If the Fantastic Four themselves could not stop me, what chance have you? I remember this issue was quite interesting. This one came out the 5th of October, which is 4 days and 33 years before I was born. Nice. They're great. Yeah, I'm loving them. I remember originally when I was 15, I read these comics in black and white reprints, and I got kind of bored of them. But looking at them in full color now that I'm older and I've got an appreciation of comics and more of an appreciation of Spider-Man, I'm loving them. They're so well done. I think this cover might have been drawn by Jack Kirby because it looks like Spider-Man's a lot more muscly. There's a lot more hench on this cover. But I've been loving it. I mean, part of me is considering reading some other Spider-Man stories in the future. So let's go back to Comixology here. Let's exit the reader. Oh, I have to go F11. I love Comixology, by the way. It's become an advert for it now, but let's see. I think if I were to read something again, I'd probably read. If I were to read something different to this, I'd probably read Spider-Man. Hold on, what's the name of it? Learning to Crawl. The only downside to this website is you have to pay quite a bit of money to get things. So this is like $9. Oh, you just go and ad? No, don't worry about it. I'm doing an advert right now. So I'm thinking of getting this one because I love how it looks. I already own the comic of this, but it would be great to go through it panel by panel. The panel view on this app really makes things more enjoyable comics-wise. I'm loving it. Oh, they got Scarlet Spiders as well. That's an interesting series. It's a clone of Spider-Man story, but they don't have many of them. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking around, guys. I've had a lot of fun streaming this, and I want to make streaming Spider-Man into more of a thing because it's what I grew up with. I grew up with the Spider-Man comics from the year 2000 by Straczynski. So I think it's Spider-Man Coming Home, which is interesting because Spider-Man Homecoming is the name of the movie. I would definitely love. I mean, it's unlimited, which means you could. They have a kind of Netflix for comics where you can subscribe to this and read anything. And if this is on the unlimited, that's pretty cool. But this is one of my favorite Spider-Man books. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun with it. I love the art in these later issues because they're done by John Romita Jr. who started illustrating Spider-Man in 1982, and is the son of John Romita, who did some really awesome Spider-Man comics. Like when Green Goblin killed Gwen Stacy, that was a really good one. It's coming home, Spidey's coming home. I've just realised that maybe I should stream this when England win the World Cup. Yeah, it's coming home. I'm really hyped about that. Just one thing about the football. I used to really hate football as a kid, and I'm just really happy that I can enjoy it now. I mean, just the World Cup, but it's really wholesome. I love enjoying stuff. That's what I'm all about. Thank you. As Stanley would say, face front, true believers. Excelsior. Have an excellent evening. I've added that last one. Um, and I'm looking forward to reading Spider-Man Coming Home when Spider-Man wins. When Spider-Man wins the World Cup? I wish. When England win the World Cup. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening. And I'm not going to make a sign-off phrase, but no limits. Guess I did. See you, everyone.